You can support In the Past Lane with as little as $1 a month. Just go to the support page at our website, inthepastlane.com. Thanks.
Whoa, hit the brakes. You've arrived at the #1 drive-by for American history. Welcome to The Pit Stop. Brought to you by In the Past Lane, the podcast about history and why it matters. Here's Edward T. O'Donnell, your host and historian at large.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Pit Stop, your Monday morning source for history on the go in just about 5 minutes. If you're new to the podcast, we offer this feature every Monday, in addition to our full feature episodes, where I interview historians about their latest works. Here's what happened in American history the week of February 11th, 2019. Let's start with birthdays. February 11, 1812. That's the birthday of Alexander Stephens, the Vice President of the Confederacy, born in Wilkes County, Georgia. Stephens suffered from many physical ailments and weighed only 100 pounds, but he enjoyed a very successful political career that sent him to Congress from 1843 to 1859. In 1861, when his home state of Georgia seceded, Alexander Stephens went home and was elected Vice President of the Confederate States of America. His most notable contribution in that role was to make crystal clear what the fundamental motive was behind the Confederacy. He said, "Our new government is founded upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery is his natural and normal condition." February 11th, 1847, inventor and entrepreneur Thomas Edison was born in Milan, Ohio. His inventions include the incandescent light bulb, the phonograph, and an early form of the movie camera. February 12th, 1809, the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, was born in Hodgenville, Kentucky. Abraham Lincoln grew up poor on the Kentucky frontier. His mother died when he was 10, and the family moved many times in search of an elusive prosperity. Lincoln's father was a hard man who ridiculed him for his interest in reading and education. But somehow, young Abraham Lincoln persevered and became a successful lawyer and politician, eventually winning election as President of the United States in 1860. His two greatest accomplishments were preserving the Union by winning the Civil War, and in the midst of that war, deciding to abolish slavery. Abraham Lincoln once said, "He who would be no slave must consent to have no slaves. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and under a just God cannot long retain it." February 14th, 1818, abolitionist, writer, and diplomat Frederick Douglass was born in Cordova, Maryland. Or at least he thought he was born somewhere around February 14th. He never knew. Frederick Douglass was born into slavery, but in 1838, at the age of 20, he managed to board a train bound for the North. He arrived in New York City as, for all intents and purposes, a free man. He soon joined the abolitionist movement, becoming a speaker for the American Anti-Slavery Society. In 1845, he published his landmark autobiography, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. The book became a bestseller, and Douglass became one of the most influential anti-slavery voices in the nation. And one of his key themes was to urge America to live up to its high ideals. Douglass once said, "I make no pretension to patriotism. So long as my voice can be heard on this or the other side of the Atlantic, I will hold up America to the lightning scorn of moral indignation. In doing this, I shall feel myself discharging the duty of a true patriot. For he is a lover of his country who rebukes and does not excuse its sins. It is righteousness that exalteth the nation, while sin is a reproach to any people." February 15th, 1820, women's rights advocate and writer Susan B. Anthony was born in Adams, Massachusetts. Susan B. Anthony was born into a Quaker family with strong anti-slavery views. Her activism in the abolitionist movement brought her into contact with another reformer, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, in 1851. Thus began a 50-year partnership that fearlessly pushed for women's equality, especially the right to vote. Susan B. Anthony once said, "Women must not depend upon the protection of man, but must be taught to protect herself." All right, what about events? February 11th, 1812, Governor of Massachusetts Elbridge Gerry signed a bill that redrew the boundaries of districts for members of the state legislature. These new boundaries were drawn to favor Gerry's Democratic-Republican Party over the Federalists. The latter cried foul and took special aim at Gerry's new district, pointing out its odd shape and how it resembled a lizard, or perhaps even a salamander. Before long, they took to calling it a Gerrymander. And ever thereafter, for 200-plus years, Americans have referred to partisan redistricting plans as gerrymandering. Somewhere along the line in those 200 years, the hard G, Gary, became a soft G, Jerry, to make gerrymandering. February 13th, 1959, 60 years ago, the Barbie doll went on sale for the first time. February 15th, 1898, the naval vessel the Maine exploded and sank in the harbor of Havana, Cuba. The incident left 260 sailors dead, and because it occurred in the context of rising tensions between the United States and Spain over the latter's treatment of the Cuban people, it led many Americans, especially editors of the so-called Yellow Press, to declare the explosion an act of Spanish treachery. The ensuing outrage did not lead to a U.S. declaration of war. That would come 2 months later, but it certainly made that decision more likely. Many decades later, using modern forensic tools and techniques, experts determined that the Maine was the victim of an accidental engine explosion and not a Spanish torpedo. Okay, time for the last word. Let's give it to Thomas Edison, who was born 172 years ago this week. Thomas Edison was often asked about the keys to success. Here's one key insight he had to offer. Being busy does not always mean real work. The object of all work is production or accomplishment. And to either of these ends, there must be forethought, system, planning, intelligence, and honest purpose, as well as perspiration. Seeming to do is not doing. Okay, people, that's your history fix for the week. Now put it in drive and go make your own history.